Let's go now. A little life out here. What the hell's going on out here? Hey, what about that now?
Hello everybody, welcome to the UK Packers. Scared myself there. Scared myself. That was very loud. And welcome to the UK Packers podcast as usual. And it's quick snaps. Are you doing it? Are you doing it? I hope you're doing it. This is what we do. We click. If you don't know what that intro is about, you're welcome. So this is the game against the Bears. And this is for the top of the NFC North. Not only that, the Packers can clinch a playoff berth, as can the Bears, by doing this kind of in reverse order in this game. But if the Packers win and Detroit lose, who are playing the Steelers, well, then we get a playoff place, which is a bit mad. They're going to Soldier Field. It's on Saturday night. It's a weird vibe. There's sort of negativity all over the media, and people are saying that the Packers are out for the count. That's because, and we discussed this on the last podcast, you and I, that Micah Parsons is out. Christian Watson, they were saying he had a much worse injury than he did, and Zach Tom as well. So Zach Tom and Christian Watson are game time decisions. I'm going to make a prediction and say that they don't play. And again, I know there's a lot riding on it and all that jazz, but I don't know. I think they were on the stationary bikes, weren't they? Weren't they, lads? Ladies. During practice, so I don't know if they'll go. But I'm going to sum it up like this, because look, we've been through this whole Bears talk. We've seen what they did to the Cleveland Browns, so they walloped the Cleveland Browns in the last game. You could extrapolate that and say these are the talking points of people that haven't looked into the games, right? Is that they're saying, you know, the Bears brought it to the very end of the game, which they technically did against the Packers. And then they went off to Cleveland and they won, and the Packers went off to Denver and they lost key players, and now they're meeting again. So naturally enough, the Bears are going to win. Now, the Packers are favourites going into this game, minus 2.5, I think it is, in the spread. Don't bet. But look, I favour the Packers on this one as well. I know they're going to the Bears. I know the noise is going to be incredibly loud. I'm not on the Bears bandwagon, which you'd be glad to know, as I'm a podcast host for the UK and Irish Packers. But I'm not. I think they are pretenders still. The same way I thought the Denver Broncos were pretenders as well. Just because they're winning games late, they just eke them out, and that was kind of the way it was against the Packers. It was just a bit of a calamity in that game, and it's the same for the Bears. I mean, if you look back at the game that the Packers played against the Bears, they were seemingly scoring at will. You know, we left an awful lot of points out there on the field, and we could have dropped a 50 burger on them had it gone our way. Because if you look at the halftime scores, and I know I said this after the podcast, the halftime scores, and extrapolate that out, but then, you know, we're putting some nice points on these lads. Also, the loss of Micah Parsons, and again, I'm not downplaying it, right? He's one of the best players, if not the best defensive player in the NFL. He gets loads of sacks, but one thing that I think about Caleb Williams, and again, people laugh at me for this take, and I said the same about Jared Goff when he went to the Lions, and I was even on a Lions podcast, the last time I'll ever do that. I said, look, Jared Goff is decent, and he'll get you very far. They scoffed and laughed and sort of took the mick out of me for promoting their team, saying that I was over-egging it, and now look at the case. Now, did I imagine that he would get a completion percentage of 104%? No. But I did think that he was a very serviceable quarterback. Caleb Williams as well, he follows that sort of Trevor Lawrence trajectory, right, where he was a record breaker in college. He should be doing an awful lot better in the NFL. There's all of these stories coming out, as they do with these hit pieces. But I do think Caleb Williams will turn into a good quarterback, if not a great one. But he has weaknesses right now. And those weaknesses for me is when he has to sit in the pocket and complete passes. You just have to look at his completion percentage. So I think sometimes with quarterbacks, and this is what happened with Colin Kaepernick, who, you know, we couldn't contain and he ran with his legs. He's just really dangerous like that, right? Caleb Williams, oddly, seems to escape, have this knack, and I talked about this in the last podcast, of escaping and vaulting his own men and making the pass. He seems to make the tough throws, particularly when he's in motion. And what I will say is, what that leads me to believe is that he has natural talent, which I do believe, and that he makes these throws in desperation when he doesn't think so much about it and try process the game, because the game is very fast and he's just able to get the ball out there and a wing and a prayer stuff. And that's what I think he's really good at. So that's a dangerous thing for when he gets better. and he's able to drop back and survey the field and pick his places. I mean, the guy has absolute caliber. So the key to him is you can get so caught up with the Micah Parsons running after him, flushing him out, sacking him, pressuring him and all that kind of stuff. For me, this game is all about containment. Don't let him run, contain him. And also, Swift is on the injury report for them. He's believed to play. Komet is on the injury report for them. He's expected to play. So the rest of our season now lives and dies on our secondary. Can they come down with the ball? Can they play man coverage or zone coverage to cover the tasks that they need to? We've seen an awful lot in prior games where they've left men entirely open and busted the coverages. So for me, it's about containing Caleb Williams and making him throw, which is his weakness for now. You know, his completion percentage is garbage. Do that, and by consequence of doing that and stacking the box, well, then you might also stop the run. That stops them from running the game out, because again, that's what teams are doing to the Packers this season. Like, I think the Bears, what did they have, an 8.5 minute drive in that game that we played against them? So that's where they ply their trade. They try slow down the offense by keeping their offense out there, right? Which shows that even with Micah Parsons out there, they were still able to score on the Packers. So containment, it's all about containment. And as well as that, I mean, look, I'm sure the Bears are flying high, right? And, you know, they're looking at us like they've got loads of players injured. Micah Parsons, don't have to worry about him anymore and double team him. That allows us to have a more balanced offensive line play. And I think that can be a dangerous thing, because you look at this and go, we're at home, we're winning all the time, we win this for the division. You know, they're without Micah Parsons. We could potentially be without Evan Williams as well. Christian Watson's not going to be there. So again, that lulls them into that false sense of security, even though we go in as the favourites. It's nuts that Josh Jacobs has re-aggravated his injury. Also that Chris Brooks has a chest injury. So I don't know what condition the Packers are going to be in. But I do expect the Packers to pull out the win in this. Why? Because late in the season, we've beaten the Bears before. I don't think the Bears are legit. Now again, I say that with a caveat, right? They've been very good and they've been eking out games and all that kind of stuff. What I'm saying is they're not a dominant team. Also, this is for a place in the NFC North for the first place. And I just think it's poetic. I just think that, you know, Packers will rain down and we'll nip it off them again. It's the exact same situation. They're in number one. We're not. We win this. We vault into number one. But look, let's go worst case scenario. We lose this game against the Bears. They have to come up against the San Fran 49ers and the Detroit Lions to close the season, which is grisly. We come up against the Ravens, who have like a 39% chance of meeting the playoffs, even less if they lose. They've been a bit of a dumpster fire this year. And then the Minnesota Vikings as well. So if this doesn't go our way, then we definitely have a path to the playoffs outside of this. If we win this game, it's all in our hands again. That we can top the NFC North, you know, get home field advantage and all that kind of jazz. So I'm not as down on this team just because Micah Parsons isn't there. In fact, sometimes when you lose one of these players, it forces you to do things differently. And also, the Bears would have game planned for Micah Parsons. They know we're going to put two guys on him and then we're going to do this to prevent this and that and the other. And now they have to go back and reevaluate their whole game plan because they don't know where that pressure is coming from. Now, I'm hoping we bring set pressure and that it isn't the case of we don't know where the pressure is coming from because it ain't coming. So look, it's Saturday night ball. It's late, but at least we can sleep on Sunday. If the Packers win this, they're absolutely in the driving seat. I think people start to become healthier as that progresses. And God knows what can happen. But I'm still optimistic. Anyway, I've been at Steady the NFL. You've been the best bloody audience ever. This has been Quick Snaps. We've kept it under 10 minutes. And I'll be watching with Beta Brett. Follow us on social media, folks. And until then, go Pack Go.